Hello, welcome to Gurukul's CAT 100 series, a series that's designed specifically to take you from your study room to the corporate boardroom. I am Prady Sharma, and this is Verbal Mastery with Prady.
Hello everyone, welcome back to day 76 of our 100 days to CAT test series. Now, this passage is a very nice passage. In case you want to take this up as a test, all you've got to do is go on to www.thegurukul.org.in and sign up for the 100 days to CAT test series. If you want to follow along with this video, then this is your first part of the passage. Please pause the video here, read this passage, and then we'll go forward. This is your second part of the passage. Pause the video here, read this part, and then we'll go forward. This is your third part of the passage. Pause the video here, read this part, and then we'll get into the questions. Now, this is question number 1. Pause the video here, answer this question, and then we're going to move forward. This question number 2. Pause the video here, answer this question, and then we're going to move forward in the third question. This question number 3. Pause the video here, answer this question, and then we're going to go into the fourth and the last question of this passage. Now, this is the fourth and the last question. Pause the video here, answer this question, and then we're going to move into the passage and question explanations. It says, the Bhadralok is a privileged social class that emerged in Bengal under the impact of the British rule. The landlord goes back to the earlier times. Okay, so basically he started talking about two different social classes. One is the Bhadralok, which has come during the British rule, and one is the landlord, okay, which is going back before the British rule. When they come together, which is often, the effect is deadly, especially for a woman house hunting alone. I'm just back to Calcutta after a few years in Mumbai. I wanted to rent a house. Here's what I got. As I pushed back the iron gate that led to an apartment block in EE block in the Salt Lake, I was greeted the usual Calcutta way. The watchman stretched his hands and yawned hard to show how deep the dark cavity of his mouth was and pointed upwards to the first floor. So basically this whole paragraph talks about the woman's experience of house hunting in Calcutta. Okay, how she was met with, a watchman who was not very enthusiastic. He was very lazy. He just stretched his hand and he showed towards the first floor, and how things were back then. Okay, now one idea that we get from here is that the house hunting is usually deadly, okay, for this woman. Why? Because of the combination of Bhadralok landlords. Okay, so probably they're not going to kill her or anything, but they're going to demean her or something of that sort. It was a hot April afternoon. I was meeting my first prospective landlord in Calcutta. I pushed the doorbell. A middle-aged woman wearing a nightie with a dupatta draped around her upper body opened the door. Ashun Didimoni, she said. It roughly translates as come in, madam. Okay, but not quite. Okay, so it's not actually madam. This word Didimoni is what the tea stall owner calls you. So it made her feel uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. Obviously, she was not very pleasantly greeted by the woman. They owned a 2-room flat in Salt Lake. The biggest thing I own is a fridge. Now again, here she shows the irony that this woman, the woman who's gone house hunting, does not own a lot of property or anything. She's a very humble woman. She's a very poor not a very poor woman, but I would say that compared to the landlords, she was not at the same level in terms of property and all. Was it deference to my jeans? But I soon got to know who the boss was. So she was wearing jeans and all, but the way the woman was treated, probably she thought that, okay, maybe this was because of my jeans, but soon, very quickly, she understood who the boss was over there in that situation. I mean, the landlords were trying to show her down, show her below. The landlord motioned with a grand sweep of his hand to sit down on the mat opposite to him. So the way he said also was very, discouraging. The way he said was, a little disrespectful, because he clearly did not treat her as his equal. Yes. Now, he seemed to be in his early 40s. He was plump, extremely fair, and his bare upper body was glistening with sweat. He had the look of someone who had just been disturbed in his sleep. So all these are, personal narrations, personal observations by the author, the woman who is who has gone to search for the house. And this is in a way mocking the landlord. This is in a way being sarcastic towards the landlord. We had a brief discussion about the rent and maintenance, and I agreed readily to all his terms. So she didn't have any problem with the rent and maintenance aspect of his terms. Then, because some of my journalist colleagues have suffered at the hands of landlords before because of their odd hours, I decided to come clean. So something happened between the friends of this author and their landlords. Okay, they've had some issues because of the timings that these people maintain. So she decided that she will tell the landlord beforehand that she's going to be late and all. Okay, one thing, I'll come back home at very late hours, I said. How late? 10 o'clock? The landlord demanded. No, it could be much later, I answered. Over here, this I part is all about the author, and obviously the landlord part is landlord. Again, he asked how late. Well, on certain days it could be 2:30 in the morning. I said, trying to figure that would not be very late, yet not too early either. 2:30, the man explained. The woman looked grim. Why? The man asked. Because I was working for a newspaper. So the author tried to explain to the landowner that, listen, I would be coming late some days around 2:30 p.m. Why? Because, sorry, 2:30 a.m. Why? Because she was working for the newspapers. Okay. And the woman also looked very grim. She was shocked to know that this woman will be coming. The woman of the landlord was very shocked to see that this tenant would be coming so late to the house. I said I was losing my fear. Since most of my friends are journalists, they'll also drop in from time to time very late, I added. How late? The landlord asked again. 2:30 or even later, I said. Do you have a boyfriend? It was the woman now. I told her that I was married. I told her what I had told her. So basically this author had already told the woman that she was married and all. And now that she had, the tenant had started telling that my friends would also be coming down at 2:30 sometimes, the woman asked, are you really married? Okay, so that's kind of a suspicious, gendered suspicion is what we'd call it. Okay, a suspicion towards a person of certain gender only. Yes, but you are talking about these strange things, all sort of friends. I want to know if there'll be men here, suppose. Her voice was gentler. So the landlord woman now was asking these kind of, intrusive questions into the life of the woman. Okay, one particular man comes back home with you, suppose for 5 days, every day after 10 in the night. How will I face my neighbors? So this is all thinly veiled patriarchy even from the woman's side for them. I said that my friends' neighbors were not known to complain very much. Do you also visit your friends at 2:30? The man asked her. And I suddenly felt that they would have liked me better if I had a dupatta thrown on my shoulders too. So she's probably saying that these people who believe that they're very cultured and they're very matured and all of these kind, the landlords, they probably would have been more accepting to her had she also conformed to the traditional norms of what a Hindu woman should look like. Yes, I do, I said. The man was holding his breath. Something important would come out of him now. Can I ask you something? I want to know this because I'm really curious, he said. He lowered his voice but thrust his head forward. I really want to know because I have never met anyone like you, he repeated. But when your friends drop in at 2:30 a.m., what all do you do? So it was very demeaning to the woman just to ask her about, the activities that they would be doing in their home at 2:30 a.m. I don't know why this landlord needs to know about all this, but the author might have felt extremely disrespectful by the way she's describing all this. So let's see what she's done next. I ran away and I oiled my hair. I eventually found a house, not before encountering a few more would-be landlords who asked probing questions. Last week, I eventually signed the agreement with a gentleman who finally agreed to take me in as a tenant, but our lawyer does not approve of me wholeheartedly. I found that my surname was replaced by my husband's on the agreement. My husband is away mostly, which explains my loan battles. But when I told my lawyer that I didn't like it one bit, he looked at me strangely and said that it was legally binding on me as a married Hindu woman to use my husband's surname. So again, finally, after a lot of landlords asking probing questions, she finally found a gentleman who actually gave her the house on rent. But even then, the lawyer who is preparing the documents and all was not very open towards this woman getting her house in her own name. So he added her husband's surname to her name, and he told that when the author said that I don't like this at all, the lawyer said, no, this is legally binding. If you're a Hindu married woman, this is how it should be, and I'm going to do it this way alone. Okay. So, in Mumbai, I had come across severe problems. A broker had asked me what my caste was, Hindu or Muslim. He had prodded when I had looked bewildered, like confused. Good, madam, if you were Muslim, we wouldn't have been able to help you. I was looking for a house in Kandivali where Muslims are not allowed. It was also extremely embarrassing for me when I failed to find a Muslim friend, a house in my own locality. So far in Calcutta, she found a gender-based bias, but in Mumbai, she found a religion-based bias. So everywhere things are biased for a woman looking at for a house is what she's trying to convince us of. But then the brokers didn't claim to be Bhadraloks, and when I told my first broker that there would be friends, sometimes parties, she said, invite me. My last landlord in Mumbai, though, has accused me of running away with a fluorescent light and its holder, but I'm sure that's not because of my gender. I wish myself the best in Calcutta. So the author is kind of optimistic. She said that has faced severe problems throughout her life wherever she's tried to rent apartments and all, and it was kind of embarrassing for her because she could not even get her Muslim friend a house in the same locality as her. Not her issue, although the issue is of the locality, but yes, she felt very, very embarrassed for that. Now, the point being, religious bias or gender-based bias exists against women wherever they go. That's what the author is trying to convince us of. Now that we've understood the passage, let's get into the questions for this passage. The attitude of the author towards the landlords in the passage is, so how is it? Is she of mixed opinions? Obviously not. She's very, very sure that she does not like the landlords, and she's been passing ironical, sarcastic comments. So sarcastic is a possible, answer. Nonchalant means indifferent. That means, okay, they are there, they're not there, it doesn't make a difference to you. But that's not how it is. Clearly the landlord's remarks had made quite a difference onto the woman, right? So definitely not. C, fastidious. Fastidious is extremely attentive to detail. Now, she was not extremely attentive to detail. She was trying to tell us the details, give us a narration to mock the landlord. So there's a difference in why we are taking those details. So definitely not going to be fastidious. The best tone for this would be sarcastic. Now let's go to the second question. Refer to the line. The landlord motioned me with a grand sweep of his hand to sit down on the mat opposite to him, which is a word that best describes the author attitude of the landlord towards the author. So not the attitude of the author, the attitude of the landlord. Reverential means, extremely devoted, something of sort of a godly stature, but that's not what the landlord has shown. Landlord has shown a negative sign, right? So definitely not going to be A. B, condescending. Yes, he was trying to be patronizing to the author, so B makes sense. Sardonic is being sarcastic and bitter. Okay, the author was not being sarcastic. He just said that, yes, you and I do not belong at the same thing, but he did not directly say that. He just asked her to sit over there as a customary thing. Okay, so condescending fits. D, denigrating. Denigrating means openly insulting. The author did not feel openly insulted. It was a thinly veiled insult, right? So denigrating does not fit. The best possible answer now becomes B. Now let's go to the third question. The passage most likely an extract from. So what is the source of the passage? A newspaper editorial. Now see, if it's a newspaper editorial, there'll be opinions of multiple people. But here, the entire paragraph was opinion of one person only, which is the author of the passage. And it was not only opinions, it was the narratives. So there were facts plus opinions in the form of narratives. But this was only of one person. Right. Now, if this was of multiple people, then it could be a newspaper editorial. So right now, it's not a newspaper editorial. A newspaper report is only facts. If it's only facts, then it's going to be a newspaper report. So definitely not a newspaper report. A newspaper self-help column. Now, usually a newspaper self-help column gives advices. But as long as we read the passage, there's no advice in it, right? It's just what has happened to her in her opinions, correct? So it's not going to be C either. A newspaper feature would have facts and opinions from one person. So definitely it's going to be my option number D. Now let's go to the last question of this passage. The author presents her argument in the passage by. So how has she presented her argument? She has clearly brought out the whole concept of Bhadraloks and all, and then how things have gone forward, right? So which option actually fits? Introducing an implicit premise and defending it subsequently? Absolutely not. There's no implicit premise over here. She has clearly told us about, what is happening. So there's nothing implicit, there's nothing hidden. So it's not going to be my answer. Introducing a subtle innuendo and denouncing it subsequently. Again, there was no subtle innuendo. There was nothing subtle about this passage whatsoever. There's clearly, we are seeing that there's some matter, there's some subject that she's addressing, and that subject is nothing but the bias, the prejudice of landlords and Bhadraloks, or the Bhadralok landlords altogether in Calcutta. So B cannot be my answer. Going for the jugular and arguing in favor of her stance. Again, she's not trying to defend herself, she's not trying to defend her stance, she's just talking about her own experiences relating to an event. So definitely it's not going to be C. Last one, introducing her subject matter and documenting its evolution. So yes, he's told us about, what the whole point is about, that she's not able to find rents in Calcutta, she's not able to find rented houses in Calcutta, and why, how did the events transpire, that yes, people rejected her, then a few more people rejected her after asking probing questions, then the lawyer tried to put in the name. All of this is just the evolution of how she has found a house in the city of Calcutta, correct? So the best possible answer would be D. If you watched this video till here, please do not forget to hit that like button. This motivates us a lot to keep bringing videos like this for you every single day. Share this with your friend who's preparing for CAT 2025. Subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you in the next video.
Hope you enjoyed learning from today's session.
This series is designed to help you with your CAT preparation and practice daily. We are with you in this journey.
To watch the next video, click here. And to watch Gurukul's CAT 100 series, study room to boardroom, the entire playlist, click here.
If you learned from today's session, like, share, and subscribe.